The Canadians don't talk quite as much as the Mexicans talk publicly, so it's harder to tell. I would say 60-40, they make a deal tonight. 80-20, they make it in the next month, which is a real deadline, because if they send the letter to Congress today notifying their intention to enter an agreement, they've got 30 days to actually send up the text. So if they don't nail everything down today, they've still got 4 more weeks to finish it off.
I mean, we've talked about all of our, I'm not going to call them opponents, but our not even adversaries, but people on the other side of what we're trying to do here, whether it's Mexico or China or the EU or Canada. No one wants to lose face in these things. And we actually have to think about that, because everybody has their own domestic concerns about how it looks. Is it possible to come to something where Trudeau can say, I got this for Canada, and Trump can say, I got this for the United States? Because it seems like a couple of those things, someone wins and someone loses. It doesn't seem like it's a win-win.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, and it'll be difficult. It's easier than with China, and the Canadians have entered into this phase of it with, I think, the right spirit, which is, let's forget about the insults, let's forget about the pressure, let's focus on whether we can do something that's good for Canada. And polling up there suggests that the public backs Trudeau in that approach. So they're being constructive. I think everybody's talking. Yes, it's possible. I think the administration in recent days, certainly with Mexico, showed some willingness to compromise on some of the things they put out. There are some tough issues for Canada, no question, and some of the things that we're asking would force them to change some of their laws that have been in effect for a long time. But I think it's possible. People seem to have a good spirit about it, better than in the China-U.S. Fight that's going on right now.
As you've watched it play out, I mean, would you have? I mean, when you're watching this play out, you worked for Bill Clinton. What would you say your reaction to watching it happen was? Were you ever saying, "Wow, that's pretty good. I wish we had done this," or "Wow, this is actually improving some things," or were you like, "Wow, we would have never approached it this way"? Is it maybe a little bit of both, or?
It's been really hard to separate the rhetoric from what's actually on the table, and I think that's what's complicating things in Washington, where people can't unpack those things. In the trade negotiating world, usually you look for win-win outcomes. We get something, they get something, and if you're a really good negotiator, you get the other guy to believe that he got more than you did, even if it's not true. The Trump approach to negotiating always is win-lose. I don't really win unless I humiliate you and you lose. And you have to kind of get beyond that. I think that what Ambassador Lighthizer has shown is some degree of flexibility. We can have a longer discussion about whether their ideas are any good, and also whether what they propose will actually achieve in terms of more jobs in the United States that they say they want to achieve. But I think what's going on behind closed doors is more traditional. And if the president, frankly, would just stop talking and stop tweeting and let this proceed, I think it would be easier to get to a successful outcome.
I can see both sides even to that. I hear what you're saying, and then there's times where I think, I don't know whether you call it tough love or what, but we were talking about it earlier that, like the EU, they've never seen anything like this, where someone says, someone just says outright, they're our allies, and he says, you're as bad as China. And it's like they've never seen anything like that. But suddenly they might actually take a look at some of the stuff they've done and go, yeah, maybe we can't get away with some of this stuff like we used to anymore.
It's put on the table issues that people have been able to avoid for a long time.
Right.
At the same time, today, it's incomplete. There's only, of all the things he started, there's only one that he's finished, sort of, and that's Korea. And even that's in doubt because of the continued threat of automobile tariffs. You can't really make a final judgment on what you're saying until you see the product. But he certainly teed up the discussion, and I guess he deserves some credit for that.